A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
Well, an update today on the new global initiative that has been emerging in the UK, encouraging Christian musical artists. The First Fruits Music Awards is the only premier global Christian music awards that provides an opportunity for all Christian artists to submit released or unreleased material. Now, their aim is to offer participants the best possible experience of any music awards, including prize money. And we'll talk about that. But Nigel Swaby is back with us. He's the founder of the First Fruits Music Awards, joining us from the UK. Nigel, a special welcome back to 2020.
I'm really delighted to be back on your show. Thank you so much for asking me. And hi, all you Australians that are listening to this beautiful show. So thanks for that.
Nigel, the contest didn't go as planned for 2023. Give us a little update on where things are at with the First Fruits Music Awards. Such a good initiative. There's been a little delay, but what's the state of play?
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't the Israelites wander around the desert 40 years? That was a bit of a delay, wasn't it? So, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think the thing is, it's been a bit of a frustrating journey for us in some ways because we've been told by industry professionals, chief executives of prominent radio stations and media companies throughout the UK and other places that this is well needed. Because, yes, it is a contest. And yes, it will attract those that are looking for the dollars, but it's more than that. We see it as an opportunity for emerging and independent artists to join a global community of like-minded people. Now, I normally say that's a little bit corny, but it's basically those that really have a heart for God's word and want to delve deeper into his word and use their gifting and talent to proclaim the gospel to an unregenerated world. So really, it's about not those that want to be, if you like, Christian musicians for the fame, fortune, glitz and glamour. There will be some that will follow that path, but it's those that understand the purpose of gospel or Christian music, which is to glorify God, number one, to edify your listener, and to preach the word throughout the world. So that's really the purpose. And so everybody who enters this award will benefit because, yes, there's only sort of one major prize and there's a runner-up prize, there's a missions prize, and a few others as well. But the key issue here is that every single contestant that participates in the First Fruits Music Awards will have the opportunity to enjoy workshops of different flavours. We're partnering with the Great Commission Society in the UK, and that's a big deal. They have over 115 they operate over 115 countries, and their mission, as it states, the Great Commission Society, is to proclaim the good news of Christ across the world in a culturally acceptable way, supported by the love of the gospel through good works. So it's humanitarian works plus gospel. Now, you need both for it to be effective. There's no point saying to a homeless person sitting at the side, you know, all right, don't worry, you know, you'll be all right tomorrow, without any particular support there, and vice versa. Give them the coat without the gospel. Well, that might be okay today, but what's going to happen in eternity? So, I mean, we're really delighted about the forthcoming workshop that's going to be taking place via the Great Commission Society, and those guys that participate, it's going to be basically registered contestants at First Fruits. They will enjoy a workshop which covers what defines gospel music, the essence of the gospel, the connection between music, gospel, worship, the biblical perspective on music, and what makes a successful gospel music ministry. So you can see itself, that's a 2-hour window from 5 to 7. Now, it's going to be a terrible time for you guys in the morning. But what I have said to our, if you like, our global user base, our movement, that if any of those guys and girls in Australasia and New Zealand and Australia want to enjoy this sort of benefit, your neck of the wood, then send us an email. Send us an email at info@firstfruits.co and say, yeah, you know what, you want to attend these workshops. You want to learn more about the gospel music industry.
Let's stay with motivation here for a moment in running these awards, because I know what you're saying will resonate with a lot of listeners. But one of the motivations, reflecting on an earlier conversation, is that there's been a little bit of dissatisfaction or disappointment with the values, and I'm talking about musical and lyrical values, as they align with a biblical view and a biblical foundation. And this has been a part of what you've been pushing. So an awards that wants to deepen the spirituality and the biblical foundation for Christian music, that's something I think we could all celebrate. A thought or two on that?
Yeah, and I think if we just sort of recap based on the conversations that we had last year, look, I was an ICVM judge in the US, and I was responsible for inspirational and Christian music as categories, and I started to listen to music that had all I can say is vampires somewhere in the lyrics. I don't need to really expand on that, and I could just see that there are some Christian artists that enter songs which really aren't Christian, and I was getting jaded as well with church, and I think there was an element. I know they're soaking. Look, I can be shot down in flames. I can be criticised. And yes, when we're in heaven, we will sing "Holy, Holy, Holy," and we will glorify God forever and ever and ever. And I have no idea what that's like. But you know what? When I'm at church and I listen to 2 chords and 4 words repeat and "Holy, Holy" a billion times, I don't think that's using one's gifting. I think that's lazy. Now, people may never, ever want to talk to me again, but that's a personal opinion. I'm thinking God has given you a brain. You're made in his image. You're there to glorify him. Everything we do glorifies God. That's the idea. So use your gifting. Use your craft. Don't be lazy. Understand how to dig deeper into scripture so you can write better songs. And that's what we're about. We're about equipping people, the emerging independents, to write better songs. Simple as that.
Let's talk about Australian entries. And there are a number of Australian entries. You've got some feelers into Australia. You've even appointed an Australian ambassador. Australian entries. Aussies listening to us right now thinking, you know what, I want to write deep, great Christian music. Connecting with you here. What's your message for Australians?
Well, I lived in Perth. I love the country. I love the people. I love the bluntness of Australians, and I think they get this message. I think they don't like all this wishy-washy stuff that they patch here in church. And I think at the end of the day, what's reflection in terms of the Australian heart is the take-up of the number of participants at the First Fruits Music Awards. I mean, they're just shy of 20% are from Australia. Now we have contestants from every single continent, with the exception of Antarctica, and I think it's probably nobody lives there, I don't think. but saying that, what astounded me, right, and this might bring a smile to Neil's face, that we've got contestants from every state in Australia, except the swampy part with the crocodiles up the north, but even places like Tasmania. Can you imagine that entrance from Tasmania? And you'd had to hear about this. It must be through your station. That's all I can imagine. So it's well received. I think some interesting statistics here. The youngest contestant at 16 is from your neck of the woods. Until recently, the oldest contestant at 70 was from your neck of the woods. But they've been picked by somebody from County Durham, UK, who are now 75. So at one extreme, we've got somebody, young lady at 16, and a gentleman at 75. And can you imagine that? Okay, the younger 16s and, in the music world, which is very carnal. I'm talking about secular, the, general way of thinking. Yeah, sure, make them look nice. It's about selling an image, a persona, all the rest of it. But what chance is a 70, 75-year-old going to have with Nashville? But I'm not going to answer that. I'll leave that to you. But the point I'm saying is that we don't discriminate anyone, and we want to support and sow into artists regardless of their age and their journey. We're all journeying with Christ. We're all at different levels.
And it sounds like the genre of Christian music is variable too, if you've got those age spectrums, 16 up to 75. And I did hear a little bit of a challenge there for listeners to our conversation today who might be listening in Arnhem Land in the north of the Northern Territory. There's a welcome entry there because you might be filling a void with all the other states that have already got some entries for the First Fruits Music Awards. Hey, you've got a ambassador in Australia. Every Daughter Matters.
He's not an Australian ambassador. He's a global ambassador. It's Eric Reverence. And he's a multi-award winning performing artist, worship leader and evangelist. So, if you type in Eric Reverence in YouTube, you'll see his videos. He's a great support, and he's bought into this project wholeheartedly.
Just quickly, Nigel, I mentioned prize money. For some, that's a carrot. It might be an encouragement to get across the line and get an entry in. How important is prize money when it comes to the sort of thing you're calling for? Let's get some deeper Christian lyrics and Christian music. The prize money, what's the value of that in there?
It's £25,000 for the grand prize winner with £5,000 for the runner-up. But from my perspective, the prize money, yes, it's a good thing, and yes, that will attract people to come on board. But to me, that's not the real thing. The real thing is to work with people through symposiums and workshops to make them better songwriters. See, that's what I see. And I see that everyone who contributes, as in joins the movement that's part of the global movement, will have an opportunity to go on these training courses and these workshops and symposiums specifically for the Christian gospel sector. There's where I see the benefit. Yeah, sure, the money's going to attract some people, but do you know what? I'll tell you, Neil, this is interesting. I've had a number of artists that I've interviewed at First Fruits Music Awards, artist profiling interviews last year. We ended up with 220 short video shorts as a result of that. So it gives you an idea of the number of people we interviewed. And there were a number of people that had no idea that there was a prize in terms of the cash. They saw the other value, the other benefits. And I said, do you realise there's a cash prize here? And they said, no, but we didn't enter it for that. We entered it because we wanted to gain a yardstick on where our music fits into society, into that Christian genre. Because each song that's submitted will be evaluated by a panel of judges for the biblical content, lyrical content, the arrangement, the performance, the commercial viability. There are 7. I can't, forgive me, I've forgotten the 2. But the point I'm saying is, so everyone, even at that basic level, will get constructive, positive feedback. Now, if you were to pay a professional to evaluate your song, that's many, many dollars. So it's excellent value if you look at the entry fee.
Well, let me encourage listeners to connect with Nigel Swaby. He's the founder of First Fruits Music Awards. Here's the website for you to find out about First Fruits and explore some more detail about what it might mean and how you might be a part of it. More Australian entries being called for. Firstfruits.co. Firstfruits.co. And you'll be able to connect with Nigel, find out more about the First Fruits Music Awards, and no doubt there'll be some announcement of those awards coming later in the year, but take up Nigel and his offer there of participating in workshops that can deepen your biblical and Christian lyrical way of writing Christian music. Nigel Swaby, thanks so much for taking some time to share your thoughts with us once again today on 2020.
Brilliant. A great opportunity. Always a pleasure to see you, Neil. Thank you.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.